Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures, and then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. A church celebrates 125 years in Youngstown. Bob Coupland has a report published July 14th highlighting one of Youngstown's oldest churches. It appears that St. Mary's Byzantine Catholic Church off of South Bella Vista Avenue on the west side is celebrating over 125 years of service to the local community. The article reflects on the church's 125 years of service. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. Local man gets a high-level job opportunity. One report published July 12th out of the Mediator informs the public that David Topher of Howland has been tapped to serve as the next U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Ohio. Now, what got this story in is the fact that if the Senate confirms him in, he will be the first U.S. attorney from the Mahoning Valley in 117 years, according to the report. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. Juvenile court looking for a boost. Dan Pompley has a report published July 16th out of Youngstown in what appears to be an expected boost to help keep nonviolent youthful offenders out of jail. Now, the entire report explains how much the local community usually gets when having to relate to such matters. Now, this report is definitely worth a read for anyone looking for information in regards to how much time and money is being invested into juvenile development. Now, the court is expecting $1 million according to the headline. Now, one report says that the mayor could also be looking to the curfew option to curb youth violence and to keep youth from doing what they usually do at late hours of the night, and that's get in trouble. That's why story number 3 made it. Story number 4, a strike in top headlines. The Mediator has a report published July 16th focusing on striking Teamsters at Republic Services. Now, the article does not say what their demands are and what led them to use the striking option, but what got the story in is because the report states that the strike will impact 2 million people with 2,000 Republic Teamsters on strike. Now, just in case you did not know, Republic is the second largest provider of waste disposal in the United States in regard to revenue, according to the report. The report does say that they're hiring replacement drivers at the time, and we don't know how long that will last. That's why story number 4 made it. Story number 5, how effective will a tax reform group be? David Skolnick has a report published July 11th explaining how leaders of a tax reform group have been picked. Now, the report goes on to explain how Governor Mike DeWine explains how this will not override 3 of his vetoes, thus leaving the question of how effective will a tax reform group be. That's what got the story into the top 8. That's why story number 5 made it. Story number 6. Local population, a topic of concern. The local population. Google AI shows that the city of Youngstown, Ohio's population continues to decline. In 2023, the population was 60,068 people. In 2024, it was 59,123 people. Bad press and the fact that people continue to migrate out of the city is what got the story in. The city has to find a way to attract new residents, and that's the main talking point in this story, is that Youngstown has to find a way to get more people to grow its population into the city. They have to attract residents, and on top of that, businesses. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big B. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week for you to keep you informed, folks. If you don't get up this early, you do want to check out the show. I do upload it to our YouTube page on the website on Mondays. The website on the screen. Let's get to these top 2 stories. Story number 7. The local hospital story has to stay in headlines. It has to. The hospital story continues to fade out of the headlines says, but if you pass by the places that used to thrive with activity, including Trumbull County and on the north side of Youngstown, you will see empty buildings. Sadly, on the city's north side, the buildings sit empty with little to no activity. On the north side, there's literally no activity. Now, this is unoccupied real estate that will go to waste and even has an unused parking garage on the Northside facility. Now, the fact that Northside Hospital closed in 2018 and no deals have been made with the property or made headlines is what got the story in, if there even were some deals going on under the table. Now, the fear now is that Trumbull County will suffer the same fate, thus getting the story into the top 2. It almost made to the top this week. That's why it's number 7 made it this week. Big story number 8 in the top. Local headline and developing news story that I made this week for you. Extra, read all about it to keep you informed. Folks, if you do want the show to show some support, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, order a sponsored program, or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face, or talk to me about something, hug me, punch me. Well, I wouldn't say punch me, but some people just go let their frustrations out on me, but that's all right. Story number 8, the local business and education story. The median income in Youngstown was $21,304. That's not good. The education system is now improving, though, but it is still doing it at a low pace. That's still low pace, according to Google AI. That means it's not moving fast enough. There's not enough graduates, but they're moving up. They're good. They're getting better. Now, over the last 5 years under local control, Youngstown City schools have improved to an 87.6% grade or good report card rate, compared to 80.5% according to WKBN.com. Now, this is in the midst of bad press surrounding local education funding and departments. Now, local businesses continue to be in top headlines also because they are fighting for local dollars and the negative press that continues to creep in and out of the headlines about what's going on around them, like buildings falling down or buildings getting torn down or people setting buildings or looking to see if the building will be evacuated, or exploding buildings. Folks, the story is still developing because Youngstown is still in the fight, but there is progress. That's our story number 8 made to the top this week. Well, folks, are our top 8 local headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back to the top 8 international headlines developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. The Mediator, me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com.
Yeah, I'll get with you in a second. I'm gonna go in here and see if I can find the charts. Yeah, this is getting out of. Penny, how long have you been here?
I went to go get some food.
Penny, how did you get out of here?
I heard a voice telling me that they'd open the doors for me.
What voice?
I don't know. Maybe it was God.
Penny, you just can't just leave here without telling anybody, okay? You have to stay put. Now I'm going to have to put you in isolation.
You can't do that.
We have to, Penny. That's what isolation is. I have to keep you in your room. You broke the rules, all right? Stay put.
Don't leave me! Why did you lock the door? I swear! Let me out! I'm gonna tell my mom! Please don't leave me this way! I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not crazy. Please! I just want to go home! Please! I want to go home, please! Please let me out.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, this week we're talking about humans and animals and how humans may have empathy. Some of us have a conscience, some of us don't. Some of us are good at being human, some of us are not. Some of us has talents and some of us don't. Some of us have other talents. Many of us have gifts, but that's the topic this week, and we're comparing to animals, because animals are different, and we're living in some strange times, so I figured this would be a good topic. To make the story go on here, I ended up going to my mother's house for a second because she's been out of town. My sisters came and got her. They wanted to spend some time with her because she just got out of chemo, and she's getting better, and they wanted to make sure she was they get some time with her, get her body, her nutrition level back up, because Brian can't do everything by himself. So I guess they came up and got her. Well, I've been going over her house and checking on her animals, making sure that they're fed, making sure her plants are watered and stuff. And it's been crazy. It's been weird, very weird. So I come over to the house. I went to go check on them one day, and the animals were fine. It was at night. I came back in the morning, and one of her birds, she has these two birds called Comet and Rocket, and one of her birds, Rocket, is he either killed himself or he got his head stuck in the cage and he strangled himself because the bird is dead. I couldn't believe it. It was like an episode of Seinfeld and Richard Pryor all at the same time. I was shocked. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. 1 minute the birds are flying around and I'm and now one of them is dead. And what I noticed about this whole experience is that the other bird, Comet, he didn't even care. He didn't cry. He just sat there the whole time. So I'm grabbing Rocket. I'm Rocket. I can't believe it. I'm trying to get him out of the cage to go bury him. The other bird is just sitting there, Oh, Brian, would you hurry up? I mean, come on. This guy is literally, the bird just didn't do anything. And it made me think about human nature, Because when humans lose somebody, we are, oh my, but birds, they just go about their business. He's just sitting there and I was devastated as a human being. It made me wonder, God made us this way for a reason. We have empathy. We care about each other. Some of us. But animals don't care. They can see a lifeless body and just walk over them. And they can see the president of the United States just go pick his hair. They don't care. They don't have much empathy. They don't have any. I mean, this bird just said, if he was conflicted or defeated inside about his friend that passed away, I didn't see it. I mean, the guy just looked at me and that was it. I had to learn something about animal and human behavior. Folks, we are made beautifully by something that gives us compassion and empathy. Folks, and when natural disasters strike or something takes the life of another human, we are hurt inside. But animals, folks, I don't think they really care too much. They don't have funerals. They don't have rituals. They don't have a church to go worship at. Folks, animals just don't care. And that's what I learned this week. And in the midst of me calling my mother and explaining to her that her bird had lost his life, maybe he was missing her, so he committed suicide. I don't know, but in reality, this bird tried to get out of the cage and literally strangled himself to death, and I could not believe it. I mean, I was hurt. We had got these birds and ever since my mom has been gone, things have been just falling apart at her house that I've had to go over and take care of. So that's our story for this week as we compare humans to animals and why we must love and show empathy towards one another, folks. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Housing is in top headlines. CNBC has a report keeping the housing story in top headlines. The report explains how home prices are falling. The report begins by stating that nearly 1/3 of the largest 100 markets are now showing annual price declines. That's almost word for word according to ICE. Now, Now this could be due to the rise in inventory, if you did not know, which is up 29%. Now this is not the case in the Northeast and Midwest, according to the report, though, but because I guess housing is still in high demand in these areas, folks. This story is keeping the real estate market in the top headlines, especially in strange economic time. That's why story number one made it this week. Story number two: the immigration bomb has been brewing for some time. NPR has a report published July 14th, keeping the immigration story in top headlines. The report highlights how several immigration judges have been fired. Wow. Now, this is even as the Trump administration ramps up immigration enforcement. Now, the report also talks about how Congress gave the Department of Justice $3 billion to hire judges, and now I guess some will be fired. Now, this is in an effort to speed up the deportations of immigrants without legal status. Now, this story made it in because it emphasizes the enforcement of immigration laws being carried out by the Trump administration, thus keeping the immigration story in top headlines. That's why story number two made it. Story number three: natural disasters have a way of bringing us to our knees. ABC News published another story about flooding. Now, the time is, I guess this time is in New Jersey. This time, I want to screw that up. This time it's in New Jersey. Now, the report talks about submerging cars, flooding roadways, and canceling flights. Now, this is after the flood in Texas took over 100 lives, probably more. Now, the story made it in because natural disasters continue to stay in top headlines. It really has a number of states concerned about how to prepare for the next disaster in the midst of aid cuts, folks. This story is still developing. Story number three made it. Story number four: energy prices in top headlines. Inc., that's INC. has a headline explaining how Trump's big, beautiful bill will affect energy prices. Now, simply stating that energy prices will surge. That's basically what the article says. Now, the report goes on to say how national household energy prices are expected to rise by $78 to $192 in 2035. Folks, the entire article is filled with rising cost projections. That's getting into the top eight. Well, folks, are the top four international headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back to top four. So don't you go anywhere. The Mediator, me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top four international headlines developing news stories that made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, this week we're comparing animals to humans and how we're specially made by a divine creator. Something has to create us, God. Something has to create us in his image, because folks, we are totally different from animals. And human beings are sexual. We're sexual creatures, and we do some sexual things. Now, what brings this story to light is the fact that Ohio is now talking about requiring facial identification for people who log into porn sites. And folks, being a tech prep, I have learned that just about everybody has a battle or watches pornography. And if you read the doctor's manual, they say that it's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with practicing safe sex and keeping the juking juvenile courses going. You know, they're keeping those things exercised and working properly. They have to be drained, and the body has to be purified and stressed out of testosterone, or things could get nasty. That's what we're talking about this week, because every man, now, as long as I've been living, I have known that every family has somebody who is either a pervert, or somebody who has an instinctive description and a library of porn somewhere in their possession. Every family has that. And some of these people are heavily religious, and some people are just natural, I would say, stalkers of porn. They like to invest in pornography. It's $1 billion business. Could you imagine what would happen if you regulated or required facial identification? There would be a list of people just lining up to watch people engage. But what I've learned is that animals, I don't know if they have porn collections. I don't think they do. But we're different. That makes us different. That makes us unique. Human beings throughout all of history have been sexual creatures. And we do things to try to stop other human beings from exercising their natural ability to want to reproduce and boom, explode new life into the world, folks. That means that we are naturally born to procreate. So why do people often make it feel like it's a bad thing to procreate, or it's maybe because some people feel that we can't afford, but right now they're saying that women are producing less babies. So folks, I say if you are afraid to procreate, if you are ashamed of who you are as a human being, then shame on you. Because nastiness is a part of life. Folks, I used to go to a fundamentalist church years ago when I was married. Now I'm now divorced. That was years ago. And in these churches, they had no shame in procreating with their wife. Some of them probably had wives, concubines, I don't know. But I would always enjoy watching the bus. Well, some of these families would pull up in vans, 15-passenger vans with all their kids, and they would all get out with the same swagger-like brides, swagger-like parents, swagger-like moms, and they would be walking into the church, thousands of children just gathering out the bus, and I would say, somebody is procreating. Thank you, thank you. There's nothing wrong with procreating, folks, especially with your mate, your loved one. Sadly, Brian, I'm too busy doing research on porn stories and finding out, reading doctors' advice just to do this show. I rather enjoy doing research on porn stories. I'm not going to lie, it does tickle my imagination, and being a life and a man filled with love and affection, I wouldn't mind spreading my loins a little bit sometimes, but God made me to report and do the news and navigate the media. So let's waste no time, folks. I'm doing what I was made to do. I'm not blessed to procreate like everybody else, but one day I will reach the mountaintop again, and it will be a blessing. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Food banks and top headlines. Can you procreate on a hungry stomach? You probably can, but it will create more hunger. The Wall Street Journal has a headline sounding the alarm on food banks and how they are running out of food at a time when they're needed the most. Now, the report cites food stamp cuts and other federal programs as a factor. Now, the report talks about growing food lines and how the federal government has canceled food deliveries and cut hundreds of millions of dollars in annual aid to food banks, folks. A number of children and everyday people are tied into this report. Let's get into the top 8. That's why I said number 5. Story number 6. What will less government mean? Reuters has a report focusing on U.S. agency layoff plans. Wow. The article homes in on layoffs, buyouts, and early retirements. This piece made it in because it brings up a question of something America is not used to, and that is less government. Now, this is something that has been talked about in a number of Republican circles for some time, but never done. And that is how. I guess the question is, how can the country function without big government? It's never been done. Now, this includes funding for education, federal workers, and a mass influx of federal disaster programs and aid cuts. Now, this even includes cuts to the Department of Veterans Affairs, folks. This is a sad story, but it's still developing. Story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week for you to keep you informed, folks. If you do not get up this early, and you do want to show the show, or you want to check out the show, views, and you just go to the website. I do upload to the website on Mondays, on the website on the screen, and I will get to the other one, which is show some support. Next story, how about that? Save some time. Story number 7, what Medicaid and SNAP cuts will do. Folks, this is interesting. Well, this is Shows you what times we're in. This is different. Now, USA Today has a report calling Trump's cuts to Medicaid and SNAP a catastrophe as states scramble to figure out what they're going to do. Now, the report begins with a story about a woman's struggle to take action, then highlights how cuts to food stamps and health care for poor people and those with disabilities have pushed her and many others over the edge. The report goes on to explain how she and many others are taking action by getting involved. Now, this story brings everyone into the battle and makes it clear what happens when ordinary people have to figure out how government works to fend for themselves. Folks, story number 7 also made it to the top this week because SNAP and Medicaid cuts are taking effect. That's why story number 7 also made it to the top this week. Big story number 8 to the top. International headline and developing news story that I made this week for you to keep you informed, folks. If you do want to show some support, all you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop by store 5648 Mark Street in Boardman Boardman, Ohio, 5648 Mark Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face. And folks, Christ himself said, no man know the day or the hour. So if the world is coming to the end, as some people are projecting or predicting, all I can say is that listen to your Savior. No man know the day or the hour. Story number 8, inflation could be a problem. The Guardian has a business report explaining how Trump's tariffs are causing inflation to rise. The report begins by explaining how inflation remains far below the peaks seen years ago. Now, the entire report focuses on numbers in June compared to past data and really succeeds at informing the reader about what is causing a sharp increase in prices. Now, Yale Budget Lab says that Americans now face an average tariff rate of 18.7%. This is the highest rate since 1933. Folks, this story is still developing, and no man knows the day or the hour when the world will end. So we got to keep living and we got to keep pushing. Folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I hope you get some out of today's program. I always get something doing the research as usual. I think all the news outlets, journalists, people on the front lines, you deserve all the credit. I'm just the media, the man in the middle, navigating your news stories just to keep people informed. Folks, if you do want to show some support, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Folks, I am out of here. I'll be back next week. Look through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator this week. Me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.